guy, the 1492 guy here. Let's keep going with this Iroquois Confederation, the Iroquois Confederacy. Now, I mentioned about the world's first democracy. Now, weren't we all taught that the Greeks had the world's first democracy? Because everything good and great had to come from Europe. We thought all this up over there in Europe. That's the way it is. Kids still think that today. So they've got to find a way to make it be from Europe, and they will look with a magnifying glass vainly and desperately all over that continent, and they'll come up with that the Greeks had a democracy. Well, it doesn't take much study to see that in that democracy, it's not a real democracy. First of all, they had slaves. 75% of them were slaves. And the United States was not a real democracy when it started either, because they had slavery. The Iroquois Confederacy, slavery had always been, wasn't abolished, it just didn't exist at all. It was outlawed within the Iroquois Confederacy in all the states of the Iroquois Confederacy. And if you joined the Iroquois Confederacy as one of their states within the Confederacy, you had to abide by their laws, and that was one of the laws that they had. There was no such thing as slavery. So the Greeks were 75% slaves. Now, half the population women. Well, the women were owned. They were property, chattel. And they had no say at all in the government. The old people had no say. The young people had no say. They certainly had some people voting and doing some quorums, but even kings and queens would do that occasionally. In the Iroquois Confederacy, that was a real democracy. And the women had equal rights to the men, and you'll see in some later episodes how women's rights was directly trackable back to the Iroquois Confederacy as well. Even children had a say at the age of reason, 14, 15 years old. Now, we haven't even aspired to that yet in our civilization today. But at the age of reason, 14, 15 years old, children as well had a say. And that really is a real democracy. Now, I mentioned the two houses before in the Articles of Confederation, and that they tried to follow that. So they could nominate their leaders, they could remove them from office, and it was the women who ran that system of the nominating and removing of the leaders if that became necessary for them to do that. Anyway, we're going to talk to you next time. 1492 guy, signing off.